Thank you for taking time out today to jump on. So we're joined today by the incredible Kathy Rogers, Director of Financial Plus. You know, it looks younger and younger every time I see her. It's got to be something to do with that Gold Coast weather. But look, Kathy, thanks for jumping on. So I just wanted to kick things off. And if you wouldn't mind just sharing us a little about your journey to becoming a finance broker.
Yeah, I actually worked for the CommBank for 17 years, straight out of school, and did that for 17 years. And there was a heap of redundancies going through at one stage, and I was having children, so I actually left. And we had, in between that, we had a cheesecake shop for 7.5 years, which was an interesting experience and gave me that perspective. But when we sold that business, I had a friend who was working for Aussie Home Loans as a PA, and she said, "Oh, my boss would love to have you." And so I was going to work for them. But in the meantime, we came to Queensland on a holiday and never really went home. Went home, sold the house in 3 days and came up here. So it was 2003 and the property market was on fire up here. And I went to work for a local mortgage manager as a broker, but it was very different to the banking side of things, so from the lending perspective. And it was a big learning curve, a very hard lesson to learn in that first year. There was lots of promises of leads and I knew no one in Queensland. So it was starting from scratch. And but I've now been a broker for 17 years here on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, wow. I love it. And you look, that sort of leads me on to my next question. You know, they say that you can't buy experience. And, you know, clearly the experience you have in this industry is second to none. So why do you believe experience is so important?
Look, I think you build a knowledge base and things are constantly changing and we have to keep adapting to those changes that are coming through. But I think it always falls back to that basic knowledge that you have. So lender policies, they're all different. We all need to be able to interpret them. The experience that you build, and it does tend to, you do have that target market that you work with. There are sometimes I go, oh, that sort of loan, you know, it's out of my space, but we take the time to research it and to look at it. And, you know, that's just adding to the growth and experience that you get. But I think you never really forget those fundamentals that are there and, you know, what makes a good borrower or what makes a good loan. Experience, my husband sometimes says to me, how do you even know that stuff? And he's been working with me for probably 10 years now, but you know, those basics are still there.
It sounds, I love that. It sounds the typical male, that'd be something I would say, you know, how do you even know this stuff? You know, master of everything.
Yeah.
But look, one of the things I wanted to talk about, the marketing industry has seen a huge change since the internet and smartphones became a part of our lives. You know, with so many options out there that claim to be the secret sauce to getting clients, and you've already touched on that. You know, we believe that Financial Plus, you know, you've got a great method. So you want to share, you know, what that is and how you make that work for you?
Yeah. I must admit, when I first came here and I didn't know anybody and I was, you know, barely surviving in that first year. And at the time, we used to have real estate magazines and I tried advertising in a few of those and, you know, very hit and miss. But the key is about referrals. So after 17 years, I've got a pretty big client base. Every day there is a new client coming on board who is coming from an existing client, although I do also am a member of BNI, Business Networking International, and that I know I've been a member for 10 years now, which is quite a long time. So I also get referrals from that. So a lot of the members are my clients. They refer their friends, their family, their work colleagues, those sorts of things. So I don't have referral relationships with any agents. very minor accountants. Very little comes from there. It is all repeat business from word of mouth. One of the new things that have come about is there is a particular page, a Facebook page on the Gold Coast, where people ask for a service. You know, they get on there, it's all women, they get on there and say, hey, I'm looking for an accountant, I'm looking for a mortgage broker. And I'm very highly recommended on those pages. So that's really the only sort of social media that I do. I have an Instagram account that I don't use. I have a business Facebook page that, you know, I rarely post on. But it comes back to referrals. And the more people that refer you, you know, there might be 86 comments on a post looking for a mortgage broker. And if I've got 10 recommendations, you know, I'm pretty certain I'm going to get a call from that person. So it's, the number of recommendations that you get. But that is the only sort of tech thing that I'm getting my business from.
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's old school, but it's still so valuable in this day and age. And you know, there's a saying that goes, as you know, your network is your net worth.
Yes.
Clearly, you've done a lot to sort of build strong relationships and add value to those relationships, and because of that, you've got sort of an organic flow of referrals coming through.
I do believe that, regardless of how tech savvy the world gets, relationships and having that one-to-one time with people face-to-face. I hated it during COVID when everything was done through Zoom. I was still doing client meetings, but it's just not quite the same as sitting down in someone's home or in my office, you know, having these conversations. It's a kind of a cold environment. Whereas, you know, when you're face-to-face, there's a much different warmth to the relationship.
Agreed. You know, I read somewhere that, you know, we communicate through body language, and obviously through Zoom, we're not able to sort of get a good sort of perspective and feel each other's energy. So I totally agree. It is a little bit diluted, but in these sort of circumstances at the moment, you know, people are trying to make do with what they can do. So
yes, yeah.
But think about what would be sort of 3 key things you know, someone should do before. Oh, sorry, hang on, move back, rewind. I did have another question here. With Queensland, actually, Queensland have just won the rights to host the Olympics in 2032. So there is a lot of noise around about how that will impact property prices, and a lot of sort of different opinions there. What's your opinion on that?
Look, I guess it's going to depend on what facilities are being built. So the more construction that happens, you know, those types of things, we already have some fantastic facilities, so I'm not sure how much more we actually need. I know they're talking about using some of the things that were implemented from the Commonwealth Games, but even things, you know, like the roads and there's so much that will happen before then, that I do think the property market will continue to grow. We've got so many people coming from interstate. You know, we've done so well during COVID that, it's another reason for everybody to move up here. But I do think that it is going to bring jobs, keep that economy going. So I think property prices should do quite well out of it.
Yeah, nice. But back to my last question. So what are 3 key things somebody should do before applying for finance?
Oh, oh boy. I really need to have 30 things, but seriously, the implementation of, you know, responsible lending and having to scrutinise living expenses. And my attitude to living expenses is that people will always spend what they can. And my analogy is that if anybody saw how much I spend on wine, you know, they'd question me. But, you know, you have a comfort level of living. But if push came to shove, there is so much that you could cut out. Now, that's just human nature. That's just the way the world is at the moment. And I think if they need to watch their spending. If somebody came to me and, you know, they've been given a gift of $30,000 and it's been sitting in a bank account as a deposit for a house and it hasn't grown, and they're living at home with mum and dad, well, what are you doing? You know, show some propensity to actually being able to save or pay some rent. So the majority of first home buyers that I see, they're actually out there paying rent, and really the rent is pretty much covered by, the mortgage payment is pretty much covered by the rent. So they have that propensity to be able to pay. So yeah, what you're spending. Do you really need that coffee every single day and sometimes 2 and 3 times a day? You know, just cut down on that spending and show that you've got the ability to save, rather than wait until the last minute and, you know, looking at it, I'm going, oh my goodness. The other thing would be watch your credit file and bank accounts. People who have 10 different bank accounts, and for any barefoot investor fan out there, they've got 10 different bank accounts. This one gets overdrawn because the direct debit comes out and they forgot to transfer the money across. That does not look good to a lender, and it's a harsh reality that they could have 30,000 sitting in another bank account, but if they've got constant overdrawings on their bank account, a lender is not going to look kindly at them. Yes. So just keep an eye on those things. We saw an influx of telco defaults listed many years ago, and I've seen less and less of that. So I hope that people are paying more attention to it. But it's the overdrawings of accounts, the late payments on credit cards, you know, even if it's just a few days. If a lender's looking at those statements, then, you know, there's going to be issues.
Yeah, nice. So we've got
a third one. I had one before and now I can't think of what it was. I would say keep an eye on employment. People who come to me, they've just changed their job. You know, if they're casual, it just makes it so much harder, and they don't realise exactly what those changes mean. But to me, spending some time with a broker before they're ready to buy is the most important thing, so that we can look at everything, have an assessment, check out their accounts, do all of those things. If they have to wait 3 months, that's, you know, they've got time up their sleeve before they're ready to do it. And I think not enough mortgage planning is done. So when I make an appointment with my clients, it's called a mortgage planning meeting. It's not necessarily that we're going to go for a mortgage right now. It's about planning and getting things sorted out before we actually do it. So it's a great way, you know, and look, it might come to nothing, but it's a worthwhile exercise to actually see somebody. And it's a free service that you know, we provide, of spending some time with a client to make sure they're on track to be able to get approved.
Yeah, I love it. So we've got one is living expenses and budgeting, and like you said, you know, human nature, we spend what we've got, but being able to sort of grow a track record there where you can show the bank that you're able to sort of live within your means and actually put aside a bit to sort of put towards your deposit. Number 2 is the credit file, managing your credit file and obviously your bank account, and making sure that those direct debits and those payments are going out. And it's very easy to lose a credit card, change your credit card, but forget where that credit card was sort of assigned to for those direct debits. Number 3, we've got employment, stable employment, and seeking the advice from a broker, because you know, positioning yourself to apply as a process, and it's not just something you make on the spot. And you know, if you actually plan it, you can access a lot better product, which is going to put you in a lot better position. So great nuggets there, mate. And last of all, love for you to just share, you know, what would be one of your most memorable or rewarding moments from being a broker? And there's probably thousands, but is there anyone that stands out?
And that is thousands. There is thousands and thousands. And I sit there, you know, you can be having a really tough week. And I do deal with a lot of first home buyers, and there's a lot of emotion in that. But I've got to say, 2 weeks ago, I have had a client who was just so over the moon. They just didn't think they had to move out of a rental, knew that they wouldn't be able to. Previous credit issues, had a COVID affected business, and it was a really tough one to get through. And the gratitude that, the emails and the text messages, when I called them, he cried, she cried, we all cried. It was just one of those things that was, really tough. And we had been told that they wouldn't extend it. So the finance approval, and the lender was amazing, and we got it all through just in the nick of time. So, I have hundreds and hundreds of memorable moments like that, and that's what makes this really tough job worthwhile.
Oh, I love it. And that's beautiful. And I totally agree. It's, hearing the joy in somebody's voice when that there was a lot of sort of anxiety and perhaps, they'd even given up.
Yes.
Very, very rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, well, look, once again, thank you, Kathy, for your time today, for sharing your nuggets. If anybody wants to reach out to Kathy, we're going to share her details in the notes. Along with her social media handle. So be sure to sort of add, like, and follow Kathy. And thanks for listening. And look, don't forget to comment, like, and share. And if you want to reach out to us here at Fixed Back Credit, connect either on our link below or through one of our social media accounts. And remember, your success is our success. So thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, James.
Done and dusted.